Greetings everyone! Welcome to the first video reporting of our Chapter 3. So we are Group 1 and I am Filinan A. Mondragon. So our lesson is Lesson 7. So Lesson 7 is Organization of Test Data Using Tables and Graphs. So our Chapter 3 is Organization, Utilization, and Communication of Test Results. So magiging focus natin dito ay ang organization ng test results or test data na makukuha natin from the assessments that we administer. So ano yung mga objectives natin? So ang una nating objective is to organize test data using tables and graphs. And second, interpret frequency distribution of test data. So as an introduction, as we have learned, tests are forms of assessments used to measure learning and gather data about student performance. So just like ano yung napag-aralan natin from our previous discussions, test data, ito yung nakukuha natin by administering the different assessments such as tests, questionnaires, rating scales, and other assessments na ginagamit natin to measure the students' learning experience and their progress. These results must be properly organized to help teachers improve curriculum and instructions. So, itong test results na nakukuha natin, it must be properly organized and arranged para maintindihan natin yung information na pwede nating makuha doon. And for the teachers, it is very important because it helps them to improve the curriculum and their instruction. So for the first question, how do we organize test data and interpret test score distribution? So papaano daw ba natin ma-organize ang test data na makukuha natin and papaano natin mai-interpret or analyze yung distribution nito? So test data become more meaningful when arranged and presented concisely. Ibig sabihin, yung test data daw, katulad na sinabi ko kanina, it will only become meaningful when it is arranged and organized properly. Organize raw scores into frequency distributions or rankings. So, pwede lang natin ma-organize ang ating raw scores or ang ating test data by using frequency distribution. So, pag sinabi natin frequency distribution, this pertains to the focus kung saan tinitignan kung ilang beses nag-repeat ang isang individual score sa isang test data. So, for example, out of 100 participants, then ang score na 50, ang frequency distribution niya is 4 times or 4 students yung naka-attain ng score na yon. So, therefore, 4 times siyang nag-repeat sa ating dataset. And the other one is ranking. Sa rankings naman, it is basically the sequential order such as ascending or descending order na ginagamit natin para makita kung ano yung highest or what is the lowest score from the dataset. Organize can also be through charts, graphs, and tables, which are effective tools for presentation. So, ang other way is also using charts, graphs, and tables na kung saan sinasabi dito, these are the most effective tools and the most common tools that we can use in presenting our data. Statistical measures and in analysis and interpretation. These tools help teachers, students, parents, administrators, and researchers better understand test results and develop programs to improve the learning experience. So after natin ma-organize yung test data by using the frequency distribution or by rankings, after arranging it in a chart, in a table, or in a graph, is pwede na natin siyang magamitan ng statistical measures. And itong statistical measures ang tutulong sa atin para i-interpret ang meaning ng test data or ng test result na meron tayo. And with this, hindi lang naman particular group, katulad na sinabi ko kanina, ang nakaka-benefit dito. According to the reference, ang Ganitong klase ng knowledge is nakaka-benefit starting from the educators, to the students, to the parents, to the administrators, or even to the researchers. Anyone who administers the test, who are the participants of the test, and the ones that can benefit from the topic of the test. So, yes, it is very important na dapat matuto tayo how to organize in order for us to analyze the test result, the test data, or the raw score na meron tayo. So, for the second question, how do we organize and present ungroup data through tables? So, paano ba natin ma-organize at mas ma-present ang ungroup data through tables? So, first, let us define what do we mean by ungroup data. Ungroup data, also called raw scores, are the actual results obtained from tests, questionnaires, or rating scales that measures knowledge, skills, or other attributes. These scores are easy to collect but are not meaningful or interesting when simply listed. So, katulad ng sinabi ko kanina, when I say ungroup data, these are the raw scores or the test results that we got directly from the administered tests, surveys, questionnaires, rating scales, and so on and so forth na mga assessments. So, yun yung tinutukoy na raw score. Again, when we say ungroup data or the raw score, we are pertaining to the test results that we got from our assessment. Or, for example, a test. Out of 100 participants, pinatest sila, ngayon yung mga scores nila, yung test results nila, yun ang test data or yun yung raw score na meron ang nag-administer nito. And just like what is stated there, it is not easy to analyze this kind of data if it is not organized. Kaya dapat i-organize mo na siya para maintindihan yung meaning niya. Because if it is just simply listed and not organized thoroughly or properly, then it will lose its meaning. So, how do we make this data useful? First, use a simple frequency distribution table to show how often each score occurs. Or for the second, for longer sets of data, use a group frequency distribution to summarize scores into class intervals. So, ang tanong dito, how do we make this ungroup data useful? So, just like what is stated kanina, we can use frequency distribution table. So, now let us discuss what is frequency distribution table. So, frequency or the simple frequency distribution table, this pertains to the table na kung saan pinapakita nito kung ilang beses nag-occur o nag-appear ang isang individual score to a particular dataset. So, katulad ng binigay kong example kanina, out of 100 participants, pwede silang makakuha or pwedeng may 10 or more participants ang nakakuha ng 50 na score. And if gagawa ng frequency distribution table, yun ang ipapakita nun, na naulit ang specific score na to in this specific number of individuals. So, for an example, ganito siya. Ganito ang example ng isang ungroup data or ng raw score na nakuha through administering a test. So, Table 7.1, scores of 100 college students in a final examination. So, kung mapapansin ninyo, it is just arranged randomly. So, kung makikita ninyo, there are still a lot of repetitions. So, basically, hindi pa siya naka-organize. It is just directly came from the test scores itself or from the test results itself. Ngayon, if we are going to use the simple frequency distribution, then we can make it like this. Ayan yung table 7.2 natin or ang ating frequency distribution of test scores. So, if it will be arranged yung kaninang 100 scores or 100 test results into a frequency distribution table, it will be like this. So, paano nga ba ito ginagawa? Ang pinaka-first step dito is i-arrange muna yung individual scores into a particular order. For example, from lowest to the highest, which is through an ascending order, or from the highest to the lowest, or the descending order. So, dito naman, nag-start siya sa pinaka-lowest, which is 21, and papunta sa pinaka-highest. So, basically, this is in ascending order. Since 21, pababa dito sa 79. So, 79. So, ngayon, sinulat dito yung individual scores. Sinulat sila. Then, dito, ito yung first column, which is the test scores, the individual test scores, which is denoted by the letter X. Then, second is yung frequency. Then, sa frequency is ilang beses nag-repeat yung particular score na yon. For example, sa first test score dito na 21, ang frequency niya is 1. Ibig sabihin, sa buong dataset, isang beses lang siya nag-appear. Ngayon, for yung pangalawa naman, which is 20, ang frequency niya ay isa lang din. Ibig sabihin, isang beses lang din siya nag-appear. So, dito naman tayo sa baba. So, 65. Then, ang frequency niya is 1. Ibig sabihin, isang beses lang din siya nag-appear. Meron dito, 57 na score. Then, 4 times siyang nag-appear sa dataset. So, ang frequency niya is also 4. So, yun yung pangalawang column. Madali lang siya. Ang mahirap lang dito is kailangan mong i-list individually ang scores. And also, ano yung corresponding nilang frequency. Now, for our percent, so ang percent naman, ang pinapakita ng percent is kung ano yung individual percentage ng specific score na yon out of the whole or out of the total number of data. So, ang kanyang general formula is ito. Ito yung kanyang general formula for our percent. Kani. So, frequency over or divided by total frequency times 100. So, tinime siya ng 100 para ma-turn siya into a percentage. So, let us check. So, dito, for example, dito sa ating number or the score of 36. So, ang frequency niya is 4. So, 4 divided by 100 times 100 is equal to 4%. So, ang ibig sabihin nito, ang score na 36 out of the whole participants or out of the total participants, ang percentage niya is also 4%. So, ganun lang mag-compute dito sa percent column. Ngayon, dito naman sa cumulative percent, so when we say cumulative percent, this is the total running percentage up to that specific score or up to that certain score. So, for example, pag sinabi natin cumulative is, ito yung accumulated percentage below that specific score and up only to that specific score. So, for example, itong 46, itong si 46. Ang cumulative percentage niya is 52. Ngayon, paano nakuha sa 52? So, basically, ganito yan. So, dito, nag-start sa 21. So, ang cumulative percent niya, since ang percent lang din naman ito is 1, so, ang cumulative percent niya is also 1. Since wala naman siyang below number. Yun na yung pinaka-lowest score. Now, next, dito naman sa pangalawa, which is ang percent niya is 1. And ang nakaraang percent natin is 1. So, we have to plus it. We have to add it para makuha natin yung cumulative percent ng pangalawa, which is mag-i-equal sa 2. So, 2% na siya. Ngayon, sa susunod, sa 32 naman, ang percentage niya is also 1. Then, from our past cumulative percent, which is 2, ipapag-plus, i-add lang siya para makuha natin yung 3. So, ang explanation nito kung bakit may cumulative percent. For example, my question or ang question is, ilan ang mga participants or ilang percentage out of the whole class, out of the whole participants or out of the whole na nagsagot sa test ang nakakuha ng 50 and below. So, dito lang sila magtitingin sa cumulative percent. Sabihin natin 50 and below. So, dito. Ngayon, ang cumulative percent niya is 69%. So, ibig sabihin, out of the whole class, may 69% na nakakuha ng score na 50 and below. So, ganun lang yung cumulative percent. It is just the adding of the percentages up to the score or up to the score kung saan ka or kung saan mo gusto malaman yung kanyang cumulative percent. So, for example, katulad nga nung sa binigay ko, which is, for example, sa Dito naman sa 46, ang cumulative percent niya is just the summation of all the cumulative out of all the percentages below that specific number and plus doon sa percentage niya. So, nag-equal yun lahat sa 52%. So, ganun lang yung cumulative percent. So, ganun lang paano i-compute itong 4 columns ng simple frequency distribution of test scores. It is very easy, madali lang siyang intindihan, and at the same time, very useful siya para i-interpret yung test data or yung raw score na meron ka. And ang kanyang constraints lang ay itong ganitong klase ng technique or ang frequency distribution table is effective lang siya if your dataset is small. Hindi siya ganun kalaki. Sabihin natin, ang maximum is 100. 100 data or 100 na yung maximum amount ng data. So, if it is 100 up, it is not advisable na gumamit ka pa ng frequency distribution table. Since ang frequency distribution table is, you have to individually list yung mga individual scores ng dataset na yun. And if malawak yung gap ng distribution nila, or unti lang yung repetition sa dataset na yun, mapaparami ka ng lagay. And it is mas mataas sa 100, so mapapahaba ka ng sulat. So, hindi advisable yung paggamit ng frequency distribution table. So, frequency distribution table is only used when your dataset is small and at the same time, if there are a lot of repetitions in that particular dataset. Now, for the second, for larger and longer sets of data, you can use group frequency distribution to summarize scores into class intervals. So, dito is mas advisable yung mga larger datasets. Since ang ginagamit itong technique is not individual listing, but rather ginugroup yung mga numbers into a particular interval or sabihin natin from the numbers 90 to 100. So, ang class interval niya, ang group niya is by 10. So, ganun yung class interval is ginugroup sila into a specific number. Then, yun yung magiging groupings para ma-analyze or para ma-interpret nila yung test data or yung test result na yun. So, that's on my part. Thank you.
I'm going to discuss the group data. So, I have here the data. So, we have here the class interval, midpoint, the frequency, cumulative frequency, and the cumulative percentage. So, first, we have the class interval. So, to get the class interval, we should, unahon na to pag-arrange ang data. So, ato ang data is ang iyang musugod sa pinaka-smallest. So, ang smallest atong data is 20. So, follow na din siya sa uban nga number hantod sa pinakadako nga data which is ang 80. And then, to get also the midpoint, there is a class interval kay lantaw na to siya, then lantaw na to dito kung unsa ang natunga sa numbers ato ang class interval. For example, sa highest number is the 75 to 80. So, ato ang midpoint is 77. Because kay ang 77 is wala siya ang tunga na dito sa data ang tunga ba sa 75 to 80. So, sa frequency naman, ang frequency is kung pila ka buok number nga nabilong ana sa imong isulod sa imong class interval. So, for example, is 75 to 80. So, sa atong data, lantaw na to sa atong data, ipon na to kung pila ka numbers ang belong dito. So, ang belong sa 75 to 80 is 3. So, follow na dahil sa uban ni mga data. And then, to get the cumulative frequency, is since 1 plus 0 equal, so 0 man siya. So, since 0 siya, sugod na diri sa 1. So, 1 plus 9 equals 10, and 10 plus 13 equals 23. Then, 23 plus 21 is 44. 44 plus 18 is 62. So, follow na din siya. Bali, ito ang tips dire is, kanila paana lang siya dito. I-plus lang na to. Mala siya ang cumulative frequency. And also, sa cumulative percentage, na siya, i-convert na nato siya into percent. So, parehaan ang cumulative frequency is 100. So, ang iyang cumulative percentage is also 100%. So, that's all. Thank you.
Good day, everyone. So today I will report the histogram and frequency polygon. So first, histogram. It is a simple graph that helps us understand how data is spread out. It uses bars to show how many times volumes occur within certain ranges. Each bar represents a group of values, and the taller the bar. The more data falls into that group, this makes it useful for quickly seeing patterns such as which values happen most often, for whether the data is mostly low, high, or in the histogram. So, ang histogram isa sa isang graph na nagamulit sa aton para makita kung paano naglapda ang mga data. May mga, ako ni siya, may mga bar ni siya, may patindog di siya mga bar, and then mga box. Karoon, mahatag ko karoon na example sa histogram. Isang nagapakita sa pila ka data ang nagaigo sa isang range na sa graph kung pila ka numbers na sa. So, ang una siya sa data. Like for example, kung may mga scores na 1, 10, 11, 20, kag iban pa, kada bars siya nag-represent siya sa ang taga-grupo. Kung mas taas ang bar, mas damo nga data ang arada. If dugo naman ang bar, ako naman siya ang dra naman mabalaan kung ang data is sa lowest possible. So this is an example, the histogram of test scores of the college students. So first, makita natin siya sa X kay ang axis, ang siya ang test scores na nagpapakita sa scores ng mga students na halin sa 20 to 90 na score or 80 na score. So, ang X naman na amo ang frequency kung pila ka students na nakakuha sa amo na nga score. Like for example, may 40 class, may 40 to 20. Amo ni siya ang pinaka-highest na nakakuha sa scores na 20 ka students na nakakuha sa 40 ka scores. Kaya ang pinaka-lowest naman is amo ni siya ang 20 siya sa histogram ay sa histogram. So, based sa diri nga graph, kay makita tama di ba? Ang damo nga students na nakakuha sa 40 to 50 nga scores is siya ang 20 students. And ang pinakalubo naman dire is siya ang 20 nga scores. Siya ang histogram.
So, cumulative frequency polygon. A graph that shows the total number of observations below each class limit using cumulative frequencies or percentages. So, it helps identify summary measures like medians and percentiles. For example, kini nga image, it is a cumulative frequency polygon of test scores of college students. So, the y-axis, kini, y-axis cumulative frequency, this shows the raw number of students who scored below a certain score. So the y-axis goes from 0 to 100. So this is the total number of college students in the sample. So sa second image naman, so this is a cumulative percentage polygon of test scores of a college student. So gayus na siya o cumulative frequency, so can be expressed in percentages. So the y-axis goes from 0% to 100%. So you can find the percentage of students who achieve the score or lower. So this is useful for finding percentile. So bar graph, a chart used for categorical data with separate bars representing each category's frequency or score. So it is useful for comparing groups and values, or often displayed on top for clarity. For example, simple bar graph. So, simple bar graph is used to compare the magnitude of the different categories of a variable. So, the length of the bar represents the value of each category. Another example is the double bar graph. So, it is also known as the group bar. So, it is a chart making comparison between two or more sets of data. Horizontal bar graph. So, it is used when we wish to show the distribution of categorical data.
Good day everyone. So today I will be reporting the Bax and Whisker plots and the pie graph. So before that, I would like to introduce myself. I am Genesil J. Paradero, and today we will talk about the Bax and Whisker plots. So the Bax and Whisker plots, which is a very useful graph depicting the distribution of test scores through their quartiles. So this type of graph, it shows how the data, like test scores, are spread out or distributed. It helps us see who got low scores, high scores, and where of the most scores are found. So the Bax and Whisker plots show the distribution of test scores through their quartiles. So, ang kanang quartiles, wala na siya kanang mga markers bitaw na nag-divide sa imong data into 4 whole equal parts. So we have the first quartile, second quartile, which is the median, and the third quartile. So ang first quartile is the point in the test scale below which 25% of the scores lie. And the second quartile, which is the median dividing with the upper and lower, which is 50% of the scores. And then the third quartile is the point above which 25% of the score lie. So later we found out where the first quartile and the median and third quartile is located. So next we have the Bax. So the Bax is the shaded rectangle represents the middle 50% of the test data. So makita na ninyo ang Bax, which is ginatawag siya of interquartile range. So the Bax, it represents the middle, which is the 50%, now from the first quartile padulong sa third quartile. So mga na siya ang ginatawag na interquartile range. Then the whiskers. So whiskers, lines extending from the Bax that represent the range for the bottom and top 25% of the data values excluding the outlier. So ang whiskers kay makita ninyo ron ang mga katong linya. So mga na siya ang nag-show how the lowest and highest values sa imong data except the outlier. So diri po niyo makita nga unsa bitaw kalayo ang lowest and highest from the middle group. And then the outlier. So data points outside the whiskers representing extreme scores. So ang kaning outliers kay ganun itong pinakalayo na maglayo na jud kay siya nga value ba o ang pinakaubos na siya nga value. So here's the example of the Bax and Whisker plots. So this is the data. So kami mo siya ang data. So we have 3, 7, 8, 10, and 11, 12, 15, 18. So mo siya ang results sa years of teaching. So dili siya ka-base nga data. Maghimo kag test course, so di ba na through sa quartile. So we have first quartile. So how to find the first quartile, median, which is the second quartile, and third quartile. So first that we need to do is to find first the median. So how to find the median? So first is we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So, we have 10 values. So, if even gani ang paangali ka na ang numbers, unsa na ito pagkuha sa median? Okay, no? So, to get the average of the two. So 8 plus 10, muna siya ang median. So 8 plus 10 is equals to 810. So divide by 2 is equals to 9. So sa atong ang median? Yes, very good, 9. So we have 9 median. And after atong pangitaon kung sa iyahang first quartile, kaya naman nato iyahang median. So sunod kaya ang first quartile. So di ba natay? Sunod naman ulit. 3, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12, 15, and 18. So, to get the first quartile, we need to, the first quartile is the median of the half lower na value. So, diri ka makuha og ganaang median. So, ano siya ang first quartile. So, unsa may median nato dire sa first quartile? Okay, very good. We have 7. So, we have 7 there, no, sa first quartile. So, first quartile, dayon, so after nato nakuha ang first quartile is, next we have the third quartile. So, ang third quartile is, kuha nato siya sa last values nga half, no, sa aning nga value. So, we have 10, 11, 12, 15, and 18. So, unsa man itong median dire? Okay, we have 12. So, we have 12 atong median dire sa third quartile. And after that, we are going to identify the minimum and the maximum of our value. So, first, no, so as you can see in our values, no, in our data, what is the minimum of our data? Yes, no, we have 3. So, 3 atong minimum. And how about our maximum? Okay, no, so we have 18. So, before I forgot, no, always remember that if you're going to identify this graph, no, you need to first to arrange the data from ascending order. So we have here now the result or the summary table of our data from this table. So we have here the minimum, which is 3, and then the first quartile, which is 7, which is the median of the half values, and then the median, which is the 9, which is even ratio. So you need to get the average, which 8 plus 8, 10 is equals to 18 plus divide 2 is equals to 9. Then the quartile, third quartile is 12. Then the maximum we have 18. So that's the summary table of our data results. This is our box and whisker plot. So from 3 to 310 in the years of teaching. So now let's proceed to the pie graph. So pie graph is one commonly used method to represent a categorical data. Is the use of a circle graph. The categories can be represented by slices of the circle that appear like a pie. So the size of the pie is determined as the percentage of students category. So ang pie graph na is a circle-shaped graph that shows how whole is divided into. Each part of the circle represents a category, and the size of each slice depends on how bigger or smaller the category. Ang pie more siya itong gina-slice gani kung daghan ang isa ka category, so mas daghan pa diyahang or mas dako pa diyang slice, pero kung gamay ra, so gamay ra po na siya. Now, each slice sa circle represents one category of data. So, for example, no, kung mag-survey ta sa favorite nga klase sa fruit, no, like let's say we have apple, banana, mango, and orange. Okay, so there are 360-degree in a whole circle. So, example, we have 10% of apple. And here we have banana, 40%. So as you can see, no, the banana has daghan ang impilit sa banana pag survey nila sa favorite na klase sa fruit, which we have the 40%. So here's how to convert the percentage into degrees. So di ba we have 10% of apple, so we use to get the degrees, no, from the percentage we use their decimal form. So and 10% we have 0.1. So i-multiply natin sila sa 360. So that is so example, we have here the apple. So we have 10%. So we use this as their decimal point. So we have 0.1. I-multiply natin sa 360 degrees is equals to 66 degrees. So that's, we have here the 36 degrees, the 10% of 360 degrees. So same with process. So the banana we have 40%. So in decimal point we have 0.4 multiplied by 360 is equals to 144 degree. And then the mango we have 30% in decimal form. So times by 360 degree and is equals to 108 degree. And then the orange, now we have 20% and in decimal form. So times by 360 degree and is equals to 72 degrees. So that's how to convert the percentage into degrees. So here's the example of the pie graph. Now as we know the slices of each category. So just like for example, we have 10%, which is mono siya, gamay lang siya. Then we have 40%. Now as you can see, let's say for example, this is apple, and we label this as the banana because it has 40%. So dako media ang slice. Then we have mango, which has a 30% and so mono din siya ang so balik na siya. So this is the slice of apple, the slice of orange, the slice of banana, and then the mango. So as you can see here, the slice of each category depends on how bigger or smaller the category. Thank you.
So which graph is the best? Choosing the best graph depends entirely on your purpose. Histographs are easy for quantitative data but not ideal for comparing groups. Bar graph suits qualitative data and subgroup comparison. Frequency and percentage polygons are good for qualitative data, with cumulative polygons being useful for comparing groups with an equal number by showing percentages. Box and whisker plots, though harder to create without software, offer unique insight. Ultimately, select the graph that best conveys your intended message. So again, based on what we have read, which is the best graph, so the answer is there is no single best graphs because nakadepende na kung what you want to show. So the histographs is good for showing quantitative or numbers-based data but not great for comparing different groups. Ang bar graphs naman is good for qualitative or category-based data and comparing groups. So if you compare groups, then the bar group is recommended for you. The frequency and percentage polygon is useful for quantitative data. The cumulative polygon helps see percentages above or below a certain point, especially when comparing groups or different size. And box and whisker plots is a bit tricky because lisod ang best and whisker plots because it a bit tricky to make without a software, but can show unique insight about this data. So again, the answer is the best graphs depend on your purpose.
So in the third graph that we examined, we have the positively skewed distribution. The tail is longer on the right side. So I have here an example about the positively skewed distribution. I have an example sample graph. So as the detailed above, so the tail is longer on the right side. So as we can see, in the right side, more on the frequency is more on high. Then the lower scores are clustered on the left. There are more who get low scores and fewer who score high. So while there is a left side is kuan siya kanang balimurag clustered, which means kanang dugol ang ilahang kanang mga scores gani kanang hapit siya nagtupong. As stated above, interval is the same. So I have here an example of graph that has the same or nearly the same. So as you can see, fair tanan ang graph nga nako Andre. That's why we can call it a uniform cause fair tanan nga score nga nakuha. So bimodal distribution has two peaks. So for example, kaniya siya. So there are two who got the highest scores. Then the next is multimodal distribution has more than two peaks. What is kurtosis? Kurtosis refers to the flatness or peakedness of a frequency distribution. It describes how high or flat the curve appears. So kurtosis, we have three kinds, which is the first one is the leptokurtic distribution. Very peak indicates scores are close to the mean. So which means kanang ang hugat the high score kanang hapit na siya naabot sa mean kanang pinaka standard nga scores nga dapat makuha. So the second one is mesocortic distribution. Moderate peak, the normal curve, or shall we say nara siya sa middle, nara siya kanang murag igo ra siya kanang nakapasar. Then the last one is platycortic distribution, or flat curve scores are widely spread out. So the last one is katong score nga pinaka lower.
So number 2, negatively skewed distribution. So the tail is longer on the left side. There are more who get higher scores. The lower frequencies are on the left or at the lower scores. So example, on SCPs where most students score high. So ang negatively skewed distributions, kay mao ni ang graph na taas ang tail sa left side. Pasabot ani daghan
ang mga estudyante nga nakakuha og taas nga score. Unya, gamay ra ang naka-low score. So, example, kanang nag-test mo sa eskwelahan, and then mas daghan ang nakapassing or mas daghan ang nakakuha og kanaang perfect tungod kay kanang abi yung exam bisay pa kayo. So kanang mas daghan ang naka-perfect isa kanang gamay og score. So una siya ang gitawag na negatively skewed distribution. So ang iyang kuana na kanang graph mao ni siya. Kanang mas daghan ang daghan ang high score kaysa lower score. So mao ni siya sa right side ug mao ni siya sa left side. So mao na siya ang negatively skewed distributions.
As a summary and conclusion, organizing test data through tables, graphs, and measures like skewness and kurtosis provides a clear and summarized complete picture of performance. Graphs summarize trends, skewness and kurtosis describe the shape of data, and clear presentation helps educators interpret results and improve learning outcomes.